Imagine building the largest empire in the Americas and stretching 2,500 miles from Ecuador to Chile without writing. No alphabet, no paper, no books. Now imagine doing it without the wheel. No carts, no wagons, no wheelbarrows. And imagine doing all of this in the Andes Mountains, some of the most extreme terrain on Earth, where some cities are built over 11,000 feet above sea level. That's what the Inca Empire did. In less than 100 years, from around 1438 to 1532, the Incas built roads connecting jungles, deserts, and mountains. They created agricultural terraces that are still used today, 500 years later. They moved massive stones weighing hundreds of tons and fitted them together so precisely that you can't slide a knife blade between them. And they governed 10 million people using knotted strings called quipus to record information. The Incas proved that you don't need writing or wheels to build something magnificent. You need ingenuity, organization, and an understanding of your environment. I'm Jack, this is Blueprints of Power, and today we're exploring one of the most impressive civilizations in history, one that lasted barely a century, but left a legacy that still amazes engineers and archaeologists today. Let's go.
Schemes in the shadows, plans in the light, kings and conquerors chasing the night. Brick by brick, their stories grow tall, but every empire learns how to fall.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blueprints of Power. I'm Jack.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Charlie.
Today we're covering the Inca Empire, and I have to say, researching this one was mind-blowing.
Why? What makes the Incas special?
So many things. The Incas built the largest empire in pre-Columbian America in less than 100 years. At their peak, they controlled about 10 million people across modern-day Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, northern Chile, and parts of Argentina and Colombia.
And they did all this in the Andes Mountains, one of the most challenging environments on Earth. We're talking altitudes where it's hard to breathe, freezing temperatures, steep cliffs, and active volcanoes.
So they built an empire on hard mode.
Exactly. And without some technologies we think of as essential. No writing system, no wheeled vehicles, no iron tools.
Wait, no writing? How do you run an empire without writing?
That's one of the mysteries we'll explore. They used quipus, knotted strings, to record information. We still don't fully understand how they worked.
And despite not having wheels, they built over 25,000 miles of roads, some of the best roads in the world at that time.
How is that possible?
Inca engineering was extraordinary. They understood their environment, they organized labor brilliantly, and they created systems that worked with the mountains instead of against them.
And then, just as they're reaching their peak, Spanish conquistadors arrive in 1532. Within 40 years, the empire is destroyed.
That's so fast.
It is, and it's a tragic story. But the Inca legacy survives in the millions of Quechua speakers today, in the agricultural techniques still used, in ruins like Machu Picchu that draw millions of visitors.
So today we're covering the rise, the reign, and the fall of the Inca Empire, how they built something amazing in less than a century, and how they lost it almost overnight.
Let's do this. Lily, where do the Incas come from?
Okay, so the Inca story starts in the Cusco Valley in Peru around the 1200s. At this time, there are many different groups and small kingdoms in the Andes. The Incas are just one of them, not particularly powerful or special yet.
So they're underdogs.
Total underdogs. According to Inca legend, the first Inca ruler, Manco Capac, was sent by the sun god Inti to find a place where a golden staff would sink into the ground. He found it in Cusco, which becomes their capital.
So Cusco is like their sacred home.
Exactly. And for about 200 years, the Incas are just a regional power around Cusco. But in 1438, everything changes. A neighboring group called the Chanca attack Cusco. The Inca ruler flees, but his son, who will become Pachacuti, stays and defends the city.
Pachacuti? That's a great name.
It means earth shaker, or he who transforms the world. And he earns it. Pachacuti not only defeats the Chanca, but he takes power from his father and becomes the Sapa Inca, the emperor.
So he's a military genius and a revolutionary.
Both. And under Pachacuti, from 1438 to 1471, the Inca Empire explodes in size. He conquers neighboring regions, he reorganizes the government, and he starts building the infrastructure that makes the empire work.
What kind of infrastructure?
Roads, agricultural terraces, storage buildings, and fortresses. Pachacuti understands that to control mountains, you need to move people, goods, and information efficiently.
So he's thinking logistically.
Exactly. And he creates this system called mata, mandatory labor service. Every family owes labor to the state for a certain number of days per year. That labor builds roads, bridges, terraces, and temples.
So it's like mandatory community service?
Yes, but at a massive scale. And in exchange, the state provides food from storage warehouses during bad harvests, protection from enemies, and infrastructure that benefits everyone.
So it's a social contract.
Very much so. And Pachacuti also starts building Machu Picchu, the famous mountaintop city. We're not entirely sure what it was used for. Maybe a royal estate, maybe a sacred site, maybe both. But it's built with incredible precision.
That's the place with all the terraces on a mountain?
Yes, it's about 8,000 feet up, surrounded by peaks, and built with stones that fit together perfectly without mortar.
How did they build that without modern tools?
Patience, skill, and lots of labor. They used bronze and stone tools to shape granite blocks. They transported stones using ramps, rollers, and levers, and they fit them together by trial and error until they matched perfectly.
That sounds impossibly hard.
It was. But Inca stonework is earthquake-proof because the stones can move slightly without the walls collapsing. Spanish colonial buildings in Cusco have fallen in earthquakes, but Inca walls are still standing after 500 years.
That's incredible engineering.
It really is. And after Pachacuti, his son Tupac Inca Yupanqui continues expanding the empire from 1471 to 1493. He conquers south into Chile and east toward the Amazon. And then his son, Huayna Capac, rules from 1493 to 1527 and pushes north into Ecuador.
So 3 rulers in a row just keep expanding.
Exactly. And by 1527, the Inca Empire stretches 2,500 miles along the western coast of South America. It's called Tawantinsuyu in Quechua, the 4 regions joined together.
So how big is it?
About 770,000 square miles, roughly twice the size of France, and it has about 10 million people from dozens of different ethnic groups.
That's huge.
It's the largest empire in the Americas before European contact, and here's the amazing part. They built it in less than 90 years, from regional power to continental empire in 3 generations.
That's Mongol-level speed.
It really is. But unlike the Mongols, the Incas focus on integration and infrastructure, not just conquest.
So how do they run this empire? All right, quick break. If you're loving this episode, and honestly, the Incas are blowing my mind, hit that follow button. Subscribe to Blueprints of Power on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. We're covering the empires that changed history, and we've got amazing episodes coming. The Qing Dynasty, the Mali Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. We're going everywhere. Share this with someone who'd love it. Send it to a friend, a teacher, a family member. Post it on social media. Help us spread the word about this show, and please leave us a review. It helps so much, and we genuinely read every single one. Tell us what you're learning, what you think, what empires you want us to cover. All right, back to the Incas, because we're about to get into how they governed 10 million people without writing. Let's go.
Okay, so the Incas control this massive empire across some of the most difficult terrain on Earth. How do they actually run it?
This is where the Incas get really impressive. Let me break down their recipe for power.
I'm ready.
Ingredient number 1, the road system. The Incas build over 25,000 miles of roads connecting the empire, 2 main highways running north-south, one along the coast and one through the mountains, with connector roads going east-west.
Wait, 25,000 miles without wheels or horses?
Without wheels or horses. The roads are for foot traffic and llamas carrying goods. Some roads are paved with stones, some are dirt, and in mountains, they're carved into cliffs or have steps.
Why build roads if you don't have carts?
For communication and control. The Incas have relay runners called chasquis who carry messages along the roads. Chasqui are stationed every few miles and they run messages from station to station, passing them to the next runner.
So it's like a relay race?
Exactly. And messages can travel up to 150 miles in a day. For comparison, it would take months for a letter to travel from Spain to Peru by ship. The Incas can send messages across their empire in days.
That's actually faster than the Spanish.
In some ways, yes. And the roads also let armies move quickly and goods flow efficiently. It's brilliant infrastructure.
What about those quipus you mentioned? How do those work?
Quipus are one of the most fascinating Inca innovations. They're strings with knots tied at different positions. Different colors, types of knots, and positions encode information. Definitely numbers and quantities, possibly names, and maybe even narratives.
So it's like coding?
Kind of. Trained officials called quipucameocs create and read quipus. They record things like population, resources in storehouses, labor obligations, and possibly historical events.
So they're running an empire on string theory.
Literally. And it works. The Incas know exactly what resources they have, where they are, and who owes what. Some scholars think quipus might be a form of writing we haven't fully deciphered yet.
That would be so cool if we could crack the code.
It would. Ingredient 3, the middle labor system we mentioned. Every household owes labor to the state, building roads, farming state lands, serving in the army, or working in mines. But the state feeds, houses, and clothes workers while they're serving.
So it's mandatory but reciprocal.
Exactly. And because of Mita, the Incas can mobilize tens of thousands of workers for massive projects. That's how they build so much so fast.
What about money? Do they have that?
No, the Inca economy doesn't use money. It's based on reciprocity and redistribution. You give labor and goods to the state, and the state gives back through protection, infrastructure, and support during famines.
So it's a gift economy at scale?
In a way, yes. And ingredient 4, agricultural innovation. The Incas are master farmers in extreme conditions. They create agricultural terraces, step-like platforms built into mountainsides.
Why terraces?
Because mountains are too steep to farm normally. Terraces create flat surfaces, prevent erosion, and capture rainwater. Some terraces are still used today, 500 years later.
That's sustainable design.
Incredibly sustainable. And the Incas domesticate or cultivate over 70 species of plants: potatoes, quinoa, maize, beans, squash, tomatoes. They understand that different crops grow at different altitudes.
So they're doing climate-specific agriculture?
Exactly. And they build storage buildings called quipus throughout the empire to store surplus food. During bad harvest years, they open the storehouses and distribute food.
So they're preventing famines.
That's the goal. And ingredient 5, cultural integration. When the Incas conquer a region, they bring local leaders' sons to Cusco to be educated in Inca ways. They teach them Quechua, the Inca language, an Inca religion centered on Inti, the sun god.
So they're assimilating people?
They are, but they're also sometimes relocating populations. If a region is rebellious, the Incas move them to a different part of the empire and move loyal people into that region. It's harsh but effective at preventing rebellions.
That's pretty calculating.
Very calculating. And ingredient 6, the Sapa Inca as divine ruler. The emperor is considered the son of the sun god. He's absolute ruler, and everyone bows before him. He wears the mascapaicha, a fringe headband with red tassels that symbolizes his power.
So he's like the pharaoh, a living god?
Similar, yes. And when a Sapa Inca dies, his body is mummified and kept in Cusco. His descendants maintain his mummy and his property. The new Sapa Inca has to conquer new territories to get his own wealth.
Wait, so dead emperors still own their stuff?
Yes, and this creates a problem. Each new emperor needs to conquer more to have resources. It's a system that requires constant expansion.
That seems unsustainable.
It is, and that becomes part of the problem, but for about 90 years, it works. The empire is efficient, organized, and powerful.
So what goes wrong?
Here comes the fall, and I'm guessing it involves the Spanish.
It does, but it's more complicated than just Spanish conquest. Before we get into the fall of the Inca Empire, I want to say that this is another painful story of colonization and loss. The Incas created something remarkable, and it was destroyed in a matter of decades. But their legacy survives in the descendants who still speak Quechua, in the ruins that still stand, and in the agricultural techniques still used today. If you're enjoying Blueprints of Power, please share it with someone. Send it to a friend who loves history, a teacher who might find it useful, a family member who's curious about the world. Next week, we're covering the Qing Dynasty, the last imperial dynasty of China, which ruled over 400 million people and created one of the wealthiest empires in history. It's going to be fascinating. And please leave us a review if you haven't already. It helps us reach more listeners, and we genuinely appreciate every single one. All right, time to talk about how the Inca Empire fell in just 40 years. Let's get into it.
Okay, so it's the early 1500s and the Inca Empire is at its peak. What causes the fall?
The first blow comes before the Spanish even arrive. Around 1527, the Sapa Inca Huayna Capac dies suddenly, probably from smallpox or another European disease that had spread south from Spanish colonies in Panama and the Caribbean.
Wait, the disease arrives before the conquistadors?
Yes. Diseases travel faster than people. Smallpox spreads through trade routes and kills millions of indigenous people who have no immunity. Huayna Capac dies, and so does his designated heir.
So there's a succession crisis.
A major one. Two of his sons, Huáscar and Atahualpa, both claim the throne. Huáscar controls Cusco and the Southern Empire. Atahualpa controls the army in the north, and they go to war.
Civil war?
Full civil war. From 1529 to 1532, the empire tears itself apart. Atahualpa eventually wins and has Huáscar captured. But the empire is weakened, divided, and exhausted.
And that's when the Spanish arrive.
That's when Francisco Pizarro arrives in 1532 with about 168 men, soldiers, and horsemen. He hears about the Civil War and sees opportunity.
168 men against an empire of 10 million?
It seems impossible, but Pizarro has several advantages. First, the Civil War has divided the empire. Many regions are uncertain about Atahualpa's legitimacy. Second, technology. The Spanish have steel swords and armor, guns, cannons, and horses. The Incas have never seen horses or guns before.
So there's a technology gap like with the Aztecs.
Exactly. And third, strategy. Pizarro invites Atahualpa to a meeting in the town of Cajamarca in November 1532. Atahualpa comes with thousands of attendants but few weapons. He's expecting a diplomatic meeting.
Uh-oh.
Pizarro and his men attack. They use horses, guns, and cannons to create chaos. Thousands of Incas are killed and Atahualpa is captured.
So they ambush him?
It's a complete ambush. And Atahualpa, trying to buy his freedom, offers a ransom. He'll fill a room with gold and another twice over with silver.
Does Pizarro accept?
He does. The Incas bring gold and silver from across the empire. Statues, jewelry, plates, everything. It's one of the largest ransoms in history, worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. The Spanish melt it all down into bars.
And do they release Atahualpa?
No. After months of captivity, the Spanish execute Atahualpa in July 1533. They claim he was plotting against them.
That's brutal.
It's treachery. And with Atahualpa dead and Huáscar already killed, the empire has no clear leader. The Spanish march to Cusco and take the capital in November 1533.
So it only takes a year to conquer the empire?
To conquer the leadership, yes, but the Incas resist for decades. The Spanish install puppet emperors who they can control. Some Incas collaborate, hoping to gain power, but others resist.
Who resists?
Manco Inca, Another of Huayna Capac's sons escapes and leads a rebellion from 1536 to 1544. He establishes a neo-Inca state in Vilcabamba in the mountains the Spanish can't fully defeat him.
So there's guerrilla warfare?
Yes, the neo-Inca state survives until 1572, when the Spanish finally capture and execute the last Inca ruler, Tupac Amaru.
So it takes 40 years to fully conquer them?
About 40 years from first contact to the final defeat. But the damage is catastrophic. European diseases, smallpox, measles, typhus, kill an estimated 80 to 90% of the indigenous population within a century.
That's almost complete destruction.
It's a demographic catastrophe similar to what happened in Mexico and the Caribbean. The Spanish impose the encomienda system, force labor in silver mines, and suppress Inca religion and culture.
Do the Spanish destroy everything?
They destroy a lot. They melt down gold artifacts, burn quipus, and tear down temples. But some things survive. Machu Picchu was abandoned and forgotten, so the Spanish never found it. That's why its preserved agricultural terraces are still used. And the Quechua language survives. Today, about 8 to 10 million people speak it.
So the culture doesn't completely die.
It doesn't. It's suppressed and damaged, but it survives in the indigenous communities that maintain their traditions despite colonization. And in the 1900s, when Machu Picchu was rediscovered, it became a symbol of Inca achievement and indigenous pride.
So there's a legacy.
A powerful legacy. The Incas proved you can build something sophisticated and lasting without technologies like writing or wheels. They showed that understanding your environment and organizing people effectively matters more than having every tool.
All right, we've covered the rise, the reign, and the fall of the Inca Empire. Time for lessons. What can we learn from a civilization that built so much in so little time? Charlie, you're up.
Okay, here's mine. Work with what you have, not what you wish you had. The Incas didn't have writing or wheels, but instead of seeing that as a limitation, they innovated different solutions. Quipus for record keeping, roads designed for foot traffic and llamas, terraces for mountain farming. The lesson? Don't waste time wishing for tools you don't have. Figure out creative solutions with what you do have. Constraints drive innovation.
Constraints breed creativity.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Mine's about working with your environment instead of against it. The Incas didn't try to flatten mountains or fight the terrain. They built terraces that followed the landscape, roads that wound through valleys, buildings that could withstand earthquakes. The lesson? Understand your environment and adapt to it. Fighting against natural conditions is expensive and often fails. Working with them is sustainable and effective.
Adapt to reality, don't fight it.
Perfectly said.
Love it. Mine's about the danger of systems that require constant growth. The Inca system, where each emperor needed to conquer new territory to have resources, meant the empire had to keep expanding. When expansion stopped or slowed, the system became unstable. The lesson? Systems designed around endless growth are fragile. Whether it's empires, economies, or companies, if your model requires constant expansion, eventually you'll hit limits. Build systems that can be sustainable without endless growth.
Sustainable beats exponential.
In the long run, yes.
That's really important.
The Incas were so impressive. It makes me sad they fell so fast.
It is sad, but their achievements still inspire us. Engineers study Inca roads and terraces, architects study their stonework, and their descendants keep the culture alive.
The empire ended, but the civilization didn't completely die.
That's something.
It is. All right. Next week, we're covering the Qing Dynasty, the last imperial dynasty of China. They ruled over 400 million people, expanded China to its largest extent, and created incredible art and culture. But they also struggled with modernization and eventually fell to revolution. It's a fascinating story.
The Qing Dynasty is so underrated. This is going to be a great episode.
I'm already excited.
Same. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging with us on Blueprints of Power.
I'm Lily.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jack, and we'll see you next time.